Alisia, thank you so much to be here. I cannot wait to get into this conversation. Everyone, welcome to Chit Chats with Local Cats, a show where we sit down and chat with some cool cats doing creative things in the Florida community. Today on the show, we have Alisia, the owner of Garden Goddess. Alisia, again, thank you so much for being here and just being here and filling our space. I mean, I feel really bad that we didn't get our conversation that we just had on the recording. So we'll have to get that in there sometime because it's very fascinating. But I'm excited. This has been an episode that actually our listeners of Break the Cycle have asked for quite some time, gardening and all of that stuff. So it just kind of plays in line, and I can't wait to start the conversation because most people know that I'm a terrible gardener, and I'm looking forward to learning more.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Yes, I'm Alisia Keifer. I'm the owner and operator of Garden Goddess. We are a multifaceted plant business, essentially. I do professional gardening, design, and installation. But also, I am a true educator. I love to get as many people's fingies into the dirt as I possibly can. So we do plant classes, we do plant events, I do different vendor events. So if you want to get a special plant for yourself, you can, but really just all around gardening. I can help you with.
I mean, your aura was literally, Steph and I met you, fun fact, at an event.
Yep.
You're scouting. And my dad was like, you have to get her on the podcast. And I was like, okay, you got it, father. And we came back and we gave you our card. And then you were like, do you know that you can eat succulents? And then we tried them. And we were like,
and it was
perfect.
delicious.
It was delicious. I know. I think
certain
about
ones,
that succulent.
Yes.
Yeah, certain ones.
Okay. Yeah. Always make sure to inquire which succulents to eat, because I have thought about like picking little parts of my succulents but I haven't done it yet because I don't want to kill myself or hurt the plant.
Well, a lot of people know aloe vera, but the one I told you ladies about, it's called jade, and it's a Portulacaria. That's the scientific name. It has like a sweet citrusy flavor almost. It's got the little tiny green leaves. Oh, so good. We'll show a picture or something.
Yeah, it was delicious. So what inspired you to like, did you always love plants? Is this a new hobby? Like, what about it?
Well, yes, I've always loved plants. I grew up on a farm. My grandma has 22 acres in Ohio. And that's where we spent many of summers, doing the vegetable garden and helping with the chickens and just the flowers and the hydrangeas and the apple trees. That was what I grew up around. So I had a lot of inspiration in that. But as I grew up, I was always really good in science and math. So I went to college. I have my bachelor's in biology with a minor in environmental sciences. So I actually studied this. And for a while, I was a horticulturist for a botanical gardens. I was their lead. I was running it for about 3 years. And I don't know. I fell in love working for myself. I started a small business on the side on top of working at the garden. And I loved working with plants. I loved working with my clients. I loved being able to like completely envision and redesign a space with them and give them their sanctuary. And I've done that so many times now. I cannot go back. I love it.
Wow. You are cool.
Oh, stop. Thank you.
Yeah. No, and it's very obvious upon speaking with you, your passion for education, which is why I think we connected so well.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't just like, here, buy a plant. I was like, oh, I like this one. And you were so ready you were like, wait, do you want to know what? It was like your hyperfixation, and I loved it. Yes. I was like, yes. I mean, it's like you are the true definition of like the plants speak to me,
Yes.
And I think that's so important because our whole world is made up of nature. And if we can't respect it, we're not even going to survive. I really believe that is like, if we don't have plants and we don't have nature, we have nothing.
Yeah. Plant. I mean, so like you loved dirt, clearly.
Yes.
You didn't mind getting your, because like sometimes I think we have that stereotype as women, especially young girls, like keep your clothes clean, like, oh, you can't be dirty, don't play in the dirt with the boys, all of that stuff. So I just imagine like a young Alisia being like, I don't care, I'm getting in there, and being rolling around in the mud. And I like
I'm
that.
also the oldest, and I have lots of
Mm.
siblings, and my main siblings, Nick and Troy, are boys. So yes, that was very common for me growing up. And even in this field now today, as a woman, it is a very man-dominated
Yeah.
field. But I will say though, to toot my own horn a little bit, I've been told my attention to detail in comparison is like on par. So
Yeah.
you know, we can get into this space, we can be dirty, we can get our finger, you know, I can get my fingers just as dirty and clean up afterwards as anyone else. And it's a great thing, it really is. And not only that, but it really makes me feel strong when I do it, because not only like physically because of what I am doing, but also like I am taking care of that. That is going to grow up and look beautiful and either give me flowers or give me fruit or whatever because of me, because I'm there giving it my love every week or every day, whatever the schedule is for what I have going on. And that's really empowering to me. Like, it's, you know, I mean, it's a little less as complex as if you were to love your cat or your dog or whatever, but I still love my plants like they're all my babies. I can't wait to share them with people. I can't wait to get out and explain and show and educate and just get everybody excited about it as me, because we got to start trying a little harder with our relationship to nature. Not only is for our own good, because folks, whether or not you believe in climate change, Mother Nature is going to be here without us. So we can either live with her or she can remove us and she'll still keep going.
Yeah.
Mother Earth is not going anywhere anytime soon. So we have to find this balance and we have to find this love again for it. And I've realized as I continue to educate, people are hungry for it. Not only people our age, but the younger generation. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to classes or I've gone to even elementary schools and kids want to learn. It's just not something that's typically taught anymore. So it's like that home ec or that shop class. You know what I mean? It needs to get back in there. Kids want it. Everyone wants it. It's so good for your mental health. It's so good for your body, all the oxygen and just everything. Like, to me, that's my end goal. If I can make at least one person love nature or have that passion that never saw it before, I've done my job. I'm happy. I'm doing it.
Since you are giving so much of your love and attention to the plants that you're taking care of, do you feel a sense of like loss when you give a plant? Like if somebody buys a plant from you, are you like, oh my God, that's my baby, I took care of that baby?
I don't try to have anxiety on that, because they all want to find their permanent home. Yes, they could live with me. They have a beautiful space where they could live and I could take care of them. I know how, but they're not always meant to stay with me. Sometimes I give them my love and I know they're meant, like there's just things where I create them. Like I have one planter I made right now. It's like a gold square and it's got this beautiful string of bananas coming out of it. And I love it. And I would keep it, but it's like, it's telling me I need to go somewhere, Ma. Somebody is waiting for me to take me home. Like, I don't know. I just love to share my plants and I have good faith in people. And if people have any concern, like, I'm not afraid to answer my messages. Please get on my social media, send me something. You know what I mean? Like I'm happy to help. I don't want it to die on you. I want you to send me a picture in a month saying, look at the new leaf. Look at the new leaf. Like, that's what I want. I don't want you to go, my plant fucking died. I killed it.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's no fun. Like, I don't know. I want it to be fun for everybody. And
I love it.
I like succulents and cactus because they're a good, easy plant for people to start with. Now, I know some people can say they're not easy, but I promise you, if I gave you some of the tips, they could be easy.
I do nothing, friends, and I have a black thumb. It's the opposite of the Midas touch. I touch it, and it. So cacti, I've had my cacti for a long time. They're still going strong. So
Yes.
it is easy for me.
Yes. So that's why I stick with that. And also, too, I have other options, as I'm sure I talked to you ladies about. I can give you things for different areas of your home. I can give you for things for different areas of your yard. One of the main things, so I've worked with the master gardeners up north a lot before I moved to Pompano. I'm from Fort Pierce, so that area. And one of the main things that they teach to their people that I think is a fabulous thing is right place, right plant. So really finding that spot in your home or in your yard where you know that plant will either thrive or at least get established enough to see if it likes that area. That's what you got to work towards. It's not always going to be perfect. It's not always going to be dead on, but you have to practice. That's the biggest thing that I can tell people with plants is don't give up. I promise I'll find you a snake plant you can't kill. I promise I'll find you a cactus you can't kill. I promise I will find you something you can't kill. We can do this together.
I love that. I love that that's your like that should be the slogan. It's like I will find you a plant you cannot kill.
Oh,
Like
that's a
it.
good one.
It
I wrote
is. That
I
is a
wrote
good
down
one.
right plant, right place, right plant. I love that. That's a good one.
yeah, I feel like you're a plant yourself, you know what I mean? You just like
Ooh.
photosynthesize and you just get into the sunlight and then you're like, woo, I'm recharged, baby.
I do a
I
lot of
love it.
grounding, a lot of grounding.
Yeah.
Well, that was my next thing is like the idea of mental health and what
hmm
a plant and taking care of a plant can do for somebody's mental health and like
Yeah.
that side of
Absolutely.
things I think is really beautiful what it's
Mhm.
able to accomplish for some people. Like my mother-in-law is a huge gardener. She loves to garden. She takes pride in her garden. So does my father. Like
hmm
that they love doing it and it makes them
Mhm.
happy and that's their space. And as they get older, right? My mother-in-law especially is extremely stubborn and she's like, I can still do it. And I'm like, no, but you can't anymore. Like physically, you're
Mhm.
unfortunately incapable of doing it. So we just got her like one of the old people garden stools that they can like kneel on or
Yes.
sit on so that she can do
Yeah.
it more. But
I love
Hey, those
that.
aren't just for
yeah.
old people. I
Oh
use
no,
those.
yeah, yeah. Oh, I need them too to help me get off the ground. But so we just bought her that and she was like, "Oh, I've been looking at
Fabulous.
that forever and I've just never bought it for myself." And I was like, "Well, happy Mother's Day. We bought it for you." And then they called us or we saw them and they were like, "You know what we did for the first time? We hired people to come over and trim our trees instead of us doing it." They said it was the
That
best $600 they ever spent. They said
can
they
I
would have
tell
been
you,
doing it for 3 days. They were done in 3 hours, these guys.
my parents said the same thing. They're all about it. Like because my dad's like, I could have done it. My mom's like, you're too old. We're old. We're tired. We have the money. Please, let's help somebody else make a living so that we don't have to climb this ladder to go cut these trees down. You know what I mean? Or like trim them.
So I
So,
will say your parents are some of my main clients. So essentially, about 75% of my clients I've had are older folks who love to garden and
mhm.
love their plants and their yard to look beautiful, but they're getting to the age where they can't do it. And
Yeah.
then the other 25% is restaurants. I do a lot of restaurant garden beds and veggie
Mm,
gardens and herb gardens and stuff like that. But
Great.
yes, that's the main thing that I do is essentially someone needs something like a garden bed cleaned up, or they need a bush trimmed, or they need weeding and some fresh mulch or rock or whatever type of beauty they want. So it has a beautiful curb appeal. That's
Mhm.
where I would come in and I would make sure everything's prim and proper. Or if, they wanted to put some more plants in, I can purchase plants and install them, stuff like that as well. But yeah, that's essentially what I do if they need help.
but that's important. Like,
Mhm.
it's a beautiful thing to be able to gift that to yourself. I think when you've gotten to that point, you don't
Yeah.
have to do it all. There's other people that are here to help you and you
Yeah.
can still have it and look at it and admire it and be a part of it, but in a different way.
Mhm.
So I guess where that kind of leads me to question is like, for the younger generation, for the millennials who are
Mhm.
mostly our listeners, where do they start in all of this? Because I think we get
Okay.
so overwhelmed with the idea of like maybe what we've seen our parents do or whatever.
Because it can be a lot if you go from a
Yeah.
full backyard to nothing to not knowing what you're doing. It can be very
Exactly.
overwhelming.
Yes.
So there's a few ways that new gardeners can come along with this. They have to figure out what type of gardening they're interested in, because you have like backyard gardenings. Those are more ornamentals. Those are more trees. Those are more shrubs. Then you also have vegetable gardens. You have herb gardens. You have butterfly gardens. So you have to kind of determine first where you want to go. If you're a brand new gardener, like never gardened before, and you want to learn to garden, going into our Florida heat right now, I would actually advise maybe like a small herb garden. You can get a, 7 or 5 gallon beautiful like rain barrel, like not rain barrel, a whiskey barrel, or just a big terracotta, whatever your vibe is in terms of planters. And then you can put some easy summertime herbs in them, because everything, starting stuff in the summertime right now when it's 90 degrees all the time, I do it professionally and it's hard for me. Like, I don't want to set anybody up for failure. Go do flowers. No. I mean, you could get pretty flowers, but you gotta work for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas like if you were to start yourself a little 3 or 4 herb garden, you could do sage, you could do rosemary, you could do parsley. Those are great herbs. Or even like a fun one, the curry plant. Super easy to grow. It's like another type of, it's in the same family as rosemary, so it grows very similar, very easy, but you can put it in curry and it's delicious. It's amazing. You can literally just plant them all together in one container. If it's in a patio, you're watering it every couple days. If it's in the sun, you want to water it every day. You know what I mean? Because it's 90 degrees. Imagine if you were outside yourself and you didn't have a drink of water. You know what I mean? It's just, you got the water. And especially with new plants, establishing them, they take extra care.
Yeah.
So that's a good place where I would tell someone to start. Or maybe like a cute little, if you wanted to do like a small succulent garden or a terrarium. I tell people to start small and then build up. So, for example, I had a garden consultation with a family in the wintertime. It was like December-ish. And she started off with 5 big terracottas and she planted herbs and strawberries. And it was a hit. Like, they're sending me pictures. Look, we're doing this in our cooking. The kids are getting involved. She had me come back. We drew up like a whole plan. They ended up putting in like 2 huge garden beds that were in a shape of a U. And now they've got sweet potato, they had kale. Like, she had that green thumb and she ran with it. So that's something that you can do. Start small. And if hey, let's do it, you can go. But I typically tell my people to just start with a few pots, start with a few planters, start with a few things. And also too, if you're going to buy anything, make sure you're not buying an annual. I don't know if the viewers know this, but an annual versus a perennial, annuals are meant to die. They're literally meant to have one
and that
beautiful
one time a year,
season.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, they seed and then they die. That's their all beauteous glory. I mean, most of them are the gorgeous flowers we see around, but that's the nature of them. So if you get something like that, of course, you're going to get discouraged. So I tell people herb garden, maybe some succulent gardens, start with some containers, because our sand here can be, our dirt soil, I call it sand because it's all basically sugar sand. It can be really difficult to plant in. So just start easy. Start with some pots, some potting soil, some herbs, some easy things like that. Once we get into the fall, once it starts to drop to around 60 degrees at night, then you can start your vegetables. Tomatoes, very easy to begin with. Basil, very easy to begin with. Now, notice I didn't say basil for the summertime. Basil flowers super fast in the heat. So if you buy yourself basil for your herb garden, it might just die on you and then you get discouraged. So don't do that. Wait until the fall. Sweet potato is a super easy one. That one you can start growing now in through the fall if you want. It grows in a lot of different varieties or
Does that need to be in a
climates.
pot or in the ground?
At I grow them in pots. You can
Really?
grow them,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so big pots. Usually I got the cheap ones from Costco, but whatever. They're beautiful. I don't care. They look cute. They're plastic. Lots of holes in the bottom.
Yep.
Let it overflow as much as I can. And then when I'm ready, I just dump the whole pot over and all the sweet potatoes fall out. And you're not like digging through trying to find where all your sweet potatoes are. They're so much better grown in a container.
Oh,
So
I'm gonna grow
Yeah.
some sweet potatoes. I
Same with
love sweet
potatoes.
potatoes.
Potatoes, I mean, you can grow them in the ground. They spread. They do well in our sandy soil. But if it's same with potatoes, if they're all grown in a container, when you want to harvest the potatoes, you just knock over the container. Boom, you got them on a tarp. You can pluck all your potatoes or your sweet potatoes out. You're good to
Mm,
go.
yeah,
yum.
that's the crazy thing too, is you just sometimes you don't realize until you talk to somebody who does it for a living, these little tips and tricks. Like I would
Mm-hmm.
have thought that's the most complicated thing in the entire world, but you broke it down so beautifully that it's kind of like, oh,
I
I
got
guess
another
I
one for you.
Give it to
give it
us.
to
I love
us.
us.
This is my favorite one. Okay. So this is the one thing, sorry. I tell this to everyone because 90% of plant killing problems is
Mm.
water. Water.
Hello, my name is Emily.
Water.
I am a
Whether you
Ah,
overwater, whether you forget to water, whether you
hello.
don't know when you should water, like, is my plant happy? Is it not? What am I doing
uh-huh.
here? Plant tip of the week. Chopsticks, baby. Use the cake method. You put the chopstick in, it comes out dry, you water that. You put the chopstick in, it comes out dirty or with a little water on it. It's like a cake. You let it sit for another day. Boom.
What?
Simplified it all.
I've never thought of that. And
Yep.
I,
Neither have I, and I feel like it's blasphemous.
well,
Well,
I've
everybody has
never,
chopsticks. You got them
yeah,
from sitting
yeah.
in the drawer
the minute that you
somewhere.
got
So,
Chinese food takeout.
yeah.
Yeah. Because our patio in the front, which we love our outdoor patio, I'm not a great waterer. I'm trying to be better about it. Um, I will just let them suffer. But we just our fences were getting painted, so we needed to move all of the stuff. So it was kind of a mess for a while. We had my in-laws come over, they helped us move things back. And now I kind of put the plants in different places now, trying new things. And I put a plant in direct sunlight and it was like, no, man, I can't do it. And I was like, okay, you got it. So I moved it and I was like, not
Yes.
not this place for you. So I moved it and I switched it. And now that plant's doing really well and the other plant's succeeding in the sun. But I have been trying to at least water them every other day. But what I'll do is I'll go out, I'll look at the soil. If it still looks wet at the top, I'll leave it. If it's not, then I'll water it again. So I'm just trying to do it by eye, but
Yep.
the chopstick method is probably
Yes.
infinitely better.
Well, it helps too because with it being so hot, it's going to be dry on top no matter
Yeah.
what. Now, if you have drainage, it's not so much of a problem. Or, but if the drainage gets blocked, or if you
Yeah.
have a container that doesn't have drainage and you're overwatering it, and then that plant is sitting in the water, that's where you get the mush from. That's where the root rot and the smell and all the grossness comes from.
Yep.
So it's just that's my number one. That's plant tip
I
of the
love
day.
my mother-in-law has taught me a few things. One of the things is about root rot. So you'll take them out of the pot and then you cut the bottoms of the roots because they'll all intertwine and it looks just like it's made of root instead of made of soil like it should. Um, and so she'll cut away and then she replants it and we've replanted so much of the stuff and it's so funny because the roots are so intertwined, she's like, they can't grow anymore, right?
Yeah.
They're strangling themselves. So you have to cut them and then repot them. And to see now my outside, my garden is my bougainvillea. I got that as a housewarming gift from our friend Rebecca for almost 5 years ago. It did well for so long. And then just this past 2 years, it's just not been flowering. And I was like, oh no, I've ruined it. But I got flowers back, baby.
Yeah.
So it feels good to walk in and to see green. Like I am trying to take better care of it, and it makes me happy because I love my garden, and I love to have people be like, wow, this is beautiful. Not, oh my God, everything is dead and dying. So I think
Yeah.
that's pretty special. So since we're talking about Florida heat, like, can you take some plants inside? Is that like, do some plants do
It
better
depends on the
inside?
plant.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like the bougainvillea, like you
Mm-hmm.
have, it's a flowering plant and it's a hardy flowering plant at that.
Mm-hmm.
So that girl can handle a lot of sun depending on how much you're watering her. Honestly, that is one of the plants you can plant here in full sun if you're watering it enough, just so you know. So that one is a hardy one. There are like flowering plants have a really hard time indoors. Butterfly plants have a hard time indoors because they're also like kind of sort of flowering plants as well, but
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying. Now I see, honestly, I really don't do any type of veggies or edible. Can you grow stuff indoors to get it started? Yes. But is a pepper gonna flower inside? No, not unless you have a grow light on it. Is
Yeah.
a tomato gonna flower inside? No, you have to have a grow light on it. So if you could adapt the indoors to be enough like the outdoors and get extra lights or certain bulbs, yes, you can grow just about anything inside, but plants want to be outside.
Yeah.
Are there some plants that do fabulous inside because they're used to the shade outside? They're used to the cooler temps? Yes. Monsteras are fabulous for indoors. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with, oh, this is my money tree.
Penny.
Next to my desk, next to my desk. She's big. She's right by my front door. She gets dapple light. She loves the inside. Oh, I'm sorry. I hope you could see it. I was off blur there. Snake plants are fabulous inside. Pothos are fabulous inside, which are like the pretty marbly vinely plants that you
Okay.
see.
Yep.
There are different varieties of philodendron that do well inside, but I mean, it all really just depends on how much light you get. Can you even put succulents and cactus inside? Yes. If you've got a bright morning face window that they can get like 3 or 4 hours of direct sun, and then they get shade, they're happy campers. Absolutely happy campers. You know what I mean? Can they survive in full sun? Yes. But do they want to? No. They want to be baby too.
That's understandable. I get it. I don't want to be in direct sunlight.
Yeah, so it really just depends on the plant. Spider plants are another great indoor plant. I know a lot of people, peace lilies are great as well because they'll actually flower for you indoors if you give them a bright enough light. Calatheas are good for indoors too, but they're very finicky waterers. So if you don't water them, they're one of those things that's just like, okay, I'm crispy, I'm dead. That's literally what it does. Oh my gosh, it's so funny. But otherwise, for the most part, if it's flowering or if it's something that wants to really like bush or grow tall, or that needs a certain amount of not necessarily direct, but bright light, certain amount of hours, anywhere between anything that's like, I would say 3 to 7 hours. If it needs more sun than that, it's not going to be super happy inside. Now, if you have like a Florida room where it's nothing but windows, or if you have, you know what I mean, an outdoor space, or if you actually have a plant room, jealous, that that is different. Obviously, you can get away with a lot more, but those are some of the basics and some of the easiest ones.
For vegetables, because my dad this is like his biggest problem. He was not used to iguanas, of course, because we're from New York. So like, he was like, what are these things? So he would want to plant vegetables, which he had a vegetable garden up in New York, and the iguanas just like attacked it. And he was like, okay, I can't do that. So what are some tips for people that do want to plant vegetables, but we are living in such an iguana infested place?
So there are a few things I do have to say, because I actually went to a class given by the state on iguanas because they were so prevalent in the work that I was doing that I'm like, how the heck can I get these things? Because they're killing all my stuff.
Yeah.
they are for sure an invasive species. You actually are not even, it's illegal to catch and release. So if you catch them, you have to kill them for sure. You cannot release them. That is how like invasive and harmful to our environment they are. I know it's sad. I don't
It
like
makes me so sad if
I
people just
know.
hit them with the car and then they keep driving. I'm crying. I think it's awful. It makes me
And
so
but believe
sad.
it or not, it is illegal to release them if you
That
catch
is
them. Like that's how
crazy.
bad they are horrible, like in our environment. I was kind of like, okay, I don't, you can add this into the recording or not, but side note here. Do you want to know how they tell people to for sure kill them in the most humane way? Do you want to know what their recommendation was?
Oh,
Chop their
geez.
head off.
To take a nail and hammer a
No.
nail in and make sure that you hit their brain like you're supposed. Yes.
What?
That was like the, or of a nail, or if you have a nail gun, that was their most humane way because that's what kills them as fast as possible in the most humane way.
Oh God.
How
That's
insane is that?
That makes me so
horrendous.
sad.
Doesn't that like, I cannot believe, like, I mean, I guess if you got to do what you got to do, but like, I literally listened to this man from the state. He's a very brilliant man. I've seen him talk about many things, but like, literally, there's like 300 people in this room. Tell
Oh, God.
300 people this, like, this is the most humane way to do it. I was just like, oh, okay. So I don't recommend that to people. That is not what I recommend. Please don't try to catch them. Please just, the things that have worked for me, fake iguanas in the actual garden. They're very territorial. So if you get a big, fake, gnarly looking iguana, you typically will not have issues with other smaller iguanas. So there's
Super
that.
cool.
That I have never thought about doing that.
Yes.
I'm up. It's like owls. I'll see owls. And
Yes.
an iguana statue is an awesome
You
freaking
can get
idea.
it off. You can get it off of Amazon online. Like one of my clients bought one. It's kind of funny, but yes. And
I want
another
it to have
thing,
like a sign and like a margarita and it be like sitting pretty or something, the statue. That's what I'd like. And then the other iguanas are like walking by and they're like, what the hell? This guy's got the best job ever.
They're like, dude, are you kidding
Yeah.
me?
How'd you get this job, man?
Yeah. And also to something that I've had a ton of success with is you can get it at Home Depot or you can get it off of Amazon. They have an actual iguana deterrent powder.
Oh.
And you just, and it's
Okay.
safe for pets and it's safe for humans. And you just sprinkle it on the edges and around the outsides of your containers. And that has tremendously helped as well.
Mm.
So now I don't have any issues with iguanas, but the raccoons are a whole other story. Don't get me started.
See,
Oh,
I
interesting.
want a pet raccoon so bad, but that's a whole other
I
episode.
love them. They're cute, but I just don't want them pooping in the garden. That's
I
gross.
get it. I
Yeah.
get it. Well, okay, let me ask you, is this a myth or is this actual? So sometimes when this has been over the years, anytime I walk a friend with a dog and I go to pick up the poop, they're like, "Oh, that's good. It's a fertilizer. It's good for the environment." Like, is is that good for plants or is that
Um,
I can because there's toxins in it, right?
so yeah, the it's different if depending on their diet. So if your dog
Mm.
was a vegetarian, yeah, it would be good for the garden. Same with
Huh.
cow manure, same with horse manure. That is good fertilizer. However, like with us, since we're omnivores, are like cats, carnivores, or whatever,
Sure.
when their byproduct breaks down into poop, it's
Uh-huh.
not it's not good. Essentially, it has I don't know what chemical, the actual name of the chemical in it is, but
Hmm.
when breaking down the meat products, there's a chemical in it that it does more harm than fertilize. Now, if you leave it sit there, is it going to break down? Is the universe going to decompose it because that's what it's programmed to know how to
Hmm.
do? Yes. But are you going to get a dead grass spot? Also, yes.
Okay, interesting. I always wondered how that worked.
Yeah,
What
it
if
depends on their diet. So if it's a plant-based diet, it's not, it can be used as a fertilizer.
Mhm.
But if they're eating meat or processed foods or, just any of that stuff that's not plant-based, it's,
Sure.
What do you think of composting?
what do you mean? Like composting your veggies
Yeah,
or
your veggies
composting?
and your coffee grounds and all of that stuff.
Yeah, I think, well, coming from someone who has 3 composters in my backyard because they're always full. I love it. I think it's a great way to reuse, especially if you are a gardener, because it can be useful. However, there is some caveats to compost. One, it takes a while. A lot of people don't realize how long it actually takes to make like a good, rich, amazing dirt-like compost. There's a lot of turning, there's a lot of watering, there's a lot of sifting involved if you want to get that same compost that you would get from the store. Now, how I utilize backyard compost is essentially in my pots or in my beds. So what I'll do is if I'm refreshing a bed, I'll lay down my base, or I'll use whatever soil I have. Then I lay down the compost, whether it's completely broken down or partially broken down. It's not really a big deal. It will continue to break down in that bed. And then over top of that, I'll put soil that I'm going, like the good mix that I use with some perlite in it and some fertilizers, and then whatever top covering I decide to use if I use one. So that's a great way. And you can it's kind of like the sandwich method, same idea with containers. You put a little bit of soil at the bottom, you put that compost in the middle, and you put a good bit of dirt on top. It's just so that it can create that environment for everything in there to continue to break down.
It's interesting.
So if you have a bin at home, where if it's outside, and because mine, it's like a big barrel. So essentially I just throw all my scraps in there. I also have an oak tree in my yard. So you want to make sure when you're composting, you're doing a layering effect. That way you don't get the smell and you don't get animals. So for composting, you want to do like your veggie scraps, your garden, like greenery, the stuff that's like actively going to decay. And you want to layer that in with either your cuttings or your brown stuff, like your leaves, hay, raked up grass that's dried, just things like that. And if you layer it in that way, you don't get the smell, you don't get the bugs, you don't get, raccoons trying to dig it in there and get in there or whatever. And essentially just every time you go and you do that, because I have a container on my counter. So when it gets full, you just go out there, you throw some on it, you give it a little stir and some water, and we're good to go. And then every season, fall time, probably around October, little before Halloween. It really just depends on the heat, because I don't want to be outside extra when it's that hot, that I already am. That's when I'll start to pull everything out and I'll start over afresh again. So really for me, personal person, I'm only getting one good round of compost a year, but if you have a family of 5, or if you, depending on who you have in your house, it could be a lot faster. You could turn it over.
Yeah. That's so interesting. Yeah. I always find composting very interesting. I've never tried it, but it's always been on my list to try.
I will say though, in terms of like, if you wanted to try, I don't know if there's any cattle farmers on here, but if you're trying to compost manure, you actually have to you still have to let it sit, and you still have to let it turn, and you still have to let it like decompose and actually compost a little bit, because if you were to just take the fecal matter and put it on the plants, yes, it would still give the fertilizer as it breaks down, but then you run into the risk of, different diseases, E. coli, different things like that. So, and even compost that you get, if you do get compost from a ranch or cattle or whatever, even like black cow, just wear gloves and always just make sure you wash your hands. Yeah. Because sometimes it smells like dirt, sometimes it smells like cow poop. So you'd rather be safe than sorry.
Yeah. Oh, very much so. Yeah. Well, like I was saying at the beginning of the recording, we were talking about something very cool. So I'm hoping this is the fact, but if it's not, that's okay too. Okay. But what is the one thing you wish people knew about gardening?
Well, we kind of went over watering.
Yep.
I guess I would my biggest thing is gardening gives you almost like a sense of relief. It gives you, it's another touch on that mental health thing. Like it can be a lot of work. It can be like sweaty, hot work. But when you're done at the end of the day, just that sense of like, I did that. I did that. I grew that. I made that grow and blossom, and how it helped me also too, like with the grounding and the mental health and just all of the oxygen and the beautiful things, because whether or not you believe in that, the energy is there. Like, we can bring this kind of back to what we were mentioning before. They have come out with research saying that plants can see you as you're sitting next to them. Not like the way we see, but they have similar receptors in their beings that can tell like the general shape of your body and the colors of the clothing that you're wearing. So, I mean, while we might not see them as typical sentient beings, but like just understand the beautiful relationship that you are having with this plant. And not only that, but if you're growing your own food, imagine the love that you give into your food, and then you harvest that food and eat your love. It's just, gardening can give back a lot more to you than you can give back to gardening, but it's just like a beautiful symbiotic relationship. So don't get too over frustrated. Don't give up. I know it can be really hard. I have a lot of people tell me, I have a black thumb, I have a black thumb, I have a black thumb. Keep trying. Even if it's, just a little plant that you see at the store that you fall in love with, or if you really do your research, depending on what your passion is, try to always have a little bit of greenery around you, because it really, truly helps you more often than most people would even realize or think, in all different kinds of ways.
Yeah.
The responsibility and the empowerment that it gives you, but also like the sense of being and the sense of like interacting with our earth. It's just so good for your body and your soul and everything.
You're my kind of girl, Alisia.
Yeah.
I like it.
Truly.
Yeah. So then,
that's how I've always been.
I love it. So then you are in charge of your own business. So my question is like, how does that feel? How, for other people that want to start their own business, like what are what's a tip that you would give somebody, or a piece of advice that somebody who's on their journey and they're just starting?
It can be hard. I mean, it can be really discouraging at sometimes too, but don't give up. I don't know. I was at the point where I was just part of the wheel. Like I was just part of the system, and I wasn't really making a difference in a way that I thought I could. And now as a small business owner, I can make a difference in so many different ways. And I believe that is true for all small business owners. We know the struggle that we're all going through. We know the camaraderie that we've all had. We know, that if you can get with enough small businesses, that it'll all work out. At least that's how I felt. I've met so many amazing small business owners and so many people along this journey of mine that I will never go back. I don't ever want to go back. I love having my own business. It's nice to have the flexibility, of course, but it's also nice to like be able to explore different avenues of my business, meet different people, go to different events, do different education. And not only that, but you can learn so much. I know I do a lot of teaching, but the amount of things that I have learned myself as a business owner, not even just on the technical side, but on like, the networking side, the social media side. Like I'm learning to build my own website right now. Like when else would I do that? Like what? I don't know. I just find it all exciting. And if you are a small business owner and you feel like quitting, tough it out. You can do it. I have faith in you. It is tough, but it is rewarding, and it will get to a point where every single bit of hard work pays off. At least that's how I feel. I do.
I love it. I love it. It is a.
I could literally listen to
yeah.
you talk for
Passion,
hours.
baby. Passion coming out the wazoo.
Yeah, I've been so quiet on this just because you're such an eloquent speaker, and it's like there's just so much knowledge to be had. And I
Thank
feel like
you.
if more people took time to educate themselves on plant life and plant health, we'd all be breathing much better air. That's just my 2 cents. I can't even believe we're down to
Yeah.
an hour of this.
I know, it's been so fast.
So we know we found you, right?
Yes.
But where can people
Very
find you?
randomly.
Yeah. And funny enough, side note, I've seen you at a few markets, and you were in the middle of talking to a bunch of people, and I was like, I'm not gonna just like go up. So like I saw you from afar, and I was like checking out your plants, and I'm like, we get to interview her soon. So like I love to see that you have randomly shown up at these little places that I go to, and I'm like, good. I love that you're busy, and
Thank
I
you.
hope to continue to bump into you and actually
Yeah.
come up to you and say hi this time. But where can people find you, and how can they support you?
So I have an Instagram, I have a Facebook, I have a link tree. You can
Okay.
also email me. I will have a website up hopefully by the end of June. That is the goal. Like I said, I'm kind of teaching myself through it right now, but so far so good. For Facebook, you can just, it's Garden Goddess, the way it sounds, Garden Goddess. And then for Instagram, it's garden____goddess. And then my link tree is kind of like the best way to find me for everything, because I have my email on there. If you want to schedule a garden consultation with me, that's available on there as well. So I don't know if everybody's familiar with Linktree, but it's Linktree, linktr.ee/Garden Goddess GGAK.
Perfect.
I know.
I love it. No, we'll put it down below. Everything will be there so people can find you.
Well, thank you so much for taking your time. And like we said, all the links are going to be down below. So if anybody has a question, comment, concern, plant emergency, they can reach out to you. We just want to say thank you so much. This was so fun. And I cannot wait to get my little fingies in the dirt with you, because
I know, I can't wait.
It's going to be an absolute blast. So if you are all listening, please go support small, support local. All the links are down below.
Thank you.
And if you don't know who we are, we're Cycle Chats Network. Break the cycle. Now, Chit Chats Local Cats. You want to know all about all the kerfluffle, you can just go to cyclechats.com. Once again, thank you so much. And remember, friends, support local, support small, and let's grow this bad boy together.
Thank you guys.
Oh my gosh, thank you.